In C#, all method parameters are required by default. However, C# also provides the option to make parameters optional. This means that if we don't pass values for these optional parameters, they will be left out during execution. Hello guys, welcome again. Alright, optional parameters lets us set default values for method parameters, so we can leave them out when we call the method. This means that if we don't give a value for an optional parameter, it will automatically use the default value. Okay, let's take a look at the sum method. It accepts 3 numbers and gives us their sum as the result. By default, all 3 parameters are necessary. If we forget to include any of them, we'll encounter an error. But what if we want to make the third parameter optional? This means that if we only provide 2 numbers when we call the method, it will still give us the sum without any errors. Alright, there are 2 ways to make parameters optional in C#. The most common way is to assign a default value to the parameter. In our case, to make the number 3 parameter optional, we assign the value 0 to it. Now we can call the sum method with either 3 parameters or just 2 parameters. It's important to remember that if we make a parameter optional and we don't provide a value for it when calling the method, it will automatically use the default value specified in the method's declaration. For instance here, if we set the default value of the number 3 to 4, the sum method will return 10. Alright, there is another way to make use of optional parameters, and that is by using the optional attribute. We'll talk more about attributes in the future, but for now, here's what you should know. To use this approach, we need to import this namespace. After that, here, we add the optional attribute enclosed in square brackets. You should know that when using the optional attribute, the parameter will have a default value based on its type. In this case, the default value is 0. Alright, let's dive into VS Code and show you another example. Let's imagine a situation where we want to greet a person and have the option to add a custom message. In this case, we have a method called greetPerson. This method takes 2 parameters, name and message. To make the message parameter optional, we can set its default value to an empty string. Inside the method, we check if the message has a value. If it does, we print the greeting along with the message. Otherwise, we simply say hello to the person. Alright, let's see how this method works by calling it twice. For the first call, let's provide 2 string arguments, one for the name and another for the message. For the second call, let's only provide the name without any message. Now let's run the application to see the result. As you can see, we get the expected output according to our method implementation. Alright, as we mentioned earlier, when we don't provide a value for an optional parameter, it doesn't get ignored. Instead, it uses the default value specified in the method signature. To confirm this, let's set a proper default value for the message parameter. Also, let's remove the if and else statements from the method. This time, if the message parameter is not provided when calling the method, the default value will be used. Now, let's run the application once more. As you can see, when we don't provide a value for the optional parameter, the value provided in the method signature is used as expected. Alright, it's important to remember that optional parameters should be defined at the end of the parameter list after any required parameters. For instance, if we try to swap the positions of the name and message parameters, we'll encounter an error. Additionally, if the caller provides an argument for any of the optional parameters, they must also provide arguments for all preceding optional parameters. We cannot have gaps in the argument list separated by commas. For example, here, we have a method that takes 3 parameters, and one of them is required. If we call this method and provide arguments for number 1 and number 3 while leaving out number 2, we'll encounter an error. In other words, if we want to provide a value for number 3, we must also provide a value for number 2. We cannot skip any preceding optional parameters. Okay, done. See you soon.